In this video, we're going to take a look at calendars versus groups. So in TeamBuildr, your calendar is your program. That's where you're going to build out your program and then assign it to the athletes so that way they can complete it. Your groups are more like tags. So you can assign an athlete to multiple groups, and then you can use that to filter out different reports or run a leaderboard for those specific groups of athletes. If we jump over to Coach Tools and down to our Manage Calendars page, here's where you'll see all of your calendars. So whether it's a parent calendar like this athletic development one here, or a sub calendar like the two below, you'll see all of those calendars that you've created in your account housed here. You can also see how many athletes are assigned to each calendar and the visibility that was set for each calendar. Back over to our Manage Users page, if we go over to groups, this is where we really want to focus in on. So like we said, an athlete can only be assigned to one calendar at a time, but they can be assigned to multiple groups. And then those groups all have different features that you can select as on or off, depending on what you want those athletes to have access to. So if we click this green plus button down here, we would create a new group. We'll put in a name for our group, and then you'll see these features that we can choose to allow this group to have access to or not. So if you want your athletes to be able to message back, you want them to write on the team feed, then you would leave this selected. If you want to take away that access for those athletes, then you would simply click that and deselect it. Same thing goes for running a leaderboard and for running reports for a specific group. Up here at the top, we can click over to the athlete assignment tab. Here is where you can select the athletes that you want to place into your account. By simply clicking these names, you'll see that they shift over to the assigned column, and that's how you know those athletes are now inside of that group. If we click back, then they will be unassigned. And then lastly, the program access tab. So once you create the group initially, then this will actually disappear. So let me jump out of here and we'll go to a existing group and just hit edit. And so now if we go over to program access, you'll see there's no programs assigned, but we now have that add program button. If we select add program, then we can pull up a list of our saved programs from our database and assign that program to that group. So then any athlete that is now in that group will also receive that saved program as well. And lastly, I want to go through one more kind of advanced feature that you can utilize these groups for. So let's say you have a coach that you want them to have access to individual athlete level calendars, but you don't want them to have access to the calendar that the athletes have been assigned to. They don't need to see it. They don't need to edit it. We don't want any mix-ups to happen in the account, right? But you do want them to have access to those individual athletes' calendars. You can create a group and assign those specific athletes to that group that you want that coach to have access for. Then when you go to the coaches tab, and we'll click edit so we can see what this looks like. When we open up the profile of that coach, so right here it says that they have access to all groups and access to assigned athlete level calendars. They also have access to calendars down here. So if we wanted this coach to have access only to those athletes' individual calendars that we placed into that group, then we would select the drop down under calendar access and disable calendar access. And then we would come back up to group access. We would click this drop down and we would say access to selected groups only. We would then select the groups that we want that coach to have access to, and we would leave this toggled on. So now any athlete that is inside of the baseball group, this coach can see their individual athlete level calendars, but they cannot see the calendar that those athletes have actually been assigned to. And that's how you navigate between your groups and your calendars inside of your TeamBuildr account. If you have any questions, please feel free to email us at